Hi, and welcome back to the Wicked Thrifter Resell channel. We're out thrifting again for some items that we can buy to flip on eBay for a profit. I'm starting out at one of my favorite Goodwills, and I'm always generally starting at this store in the glass and pottery section. This was a little Irish mug. If there had been a set, I might have grabbed those. Perfect time of year for those items to sell. I spotted these mugs up in the corner. Once upon a time, I used to pick these up quite often. I believe they're international. I can't remember the pattern, forgive me. And they may still sell fairly well, but I've had a few pieces that sit on the shelf for a while, so I have chose to leave those behind. I do spot this and I take this with. Normally these, when I find them, are signed by another person. This wasn't, I think it's Jonathan is the last name or the name that it's signed on there. I find ones by Nibro, and this was something completely different. It had a different signature on there, so I grabbed it out of curiosity. I don't grab all of them. You'll see that there's another one that I spot in a little bit here. These were made of resin. They were $4.99 each, but the beak and the feet on both of them were glued back on, so I chose to leave those behind. Someone must have donated a bunch of birds. There was a lot of them today. Here's the other example. This one actually had a sticker on it, and it was from Hallmark. Some Hallmark pieces can do fairly well, so maybe I should have looked that up, but I chose not to. They, like I said, sit for quite a while. Some carousel horses. Some other figurines. I'm very selective on the figurines that I pick up. There has to be a decent profit and return on what you pay for them. These were actually pretty interesting. I thought they were like wise men initially, but there was only two, and that one was holding a pizza. It was obviously homemade, but I'm not sure what the point or what they were for. When I did a Google search, I couldn't find them. And this was a fused glass poinsettia plate by Fusion Art Glass. If it's still there next time, I might grab it. It's been there for quite a while, and it is a Christmas piece. It probably will sell around the Christmas time. The shelves at this location were kind of sparse. Here's some Easter items. I thought this was interesting, but when I turned it over, it had like a faded home goods sticker on it. So it must have been like a reproduction of something. So I chose to leave that as well. And those reminded me of like the quilt deers that you'll see at Christmas time. And these little candlestick holders, they were more modern, and there was a set of two of them. I chose not to pick those up as well. Now we're at another Goodwill, and I am scouring the shelves for glassy baby items. I actually found two glassy babies at this location in the past few months, so I was crossing my fingers and hoping that I'd find another, which I did not. Here we're in the wood section, and I actually find a couple of things. This is made in Denmark. It's like a little wooden sailor or fisherman. And then I also found this really creepy Norway troll doll. I pick these up anytime I find them. They're Nyform, I believe is how you say the name. It was a little spendy at $8.99, but I know I'll get my money back on that. They definitely had a lot of signs in this section. This was handmade wood piece. It reminded me of the Three Wise Men, but I wasn't sure. And here was like a little sewing box or jewelry box. unfortunately had some damage on the corner. And this other box you see there with the sun and moon, or stars and moon, was more of a mass produced. I was hoping it was like a Polish wood box, but it was not. And this would have been cute for like doll furniture. Here I picked this up. It's a little Zuni fetish sculpture. It's a bear with a little stone on it. And next to it, they had some vintage crystal like glass polar bear figurines. The set was $2.99 each. I decided to grab them anyway. I know they won't return a ton of money, but they were really nicely done. And I thought that would be a good pickup. I was a little bummed about this piece. The marigold like carnival finish is completely coming off. They wanted $10.99 for that, as you saw in the sticker. That was a little too high for me to spend. Had it been around $4 or $5, I probably would have picked them up. And these glasses, these little tumblers, intrigued me. They wanted $1.99 a piece, but I just couldn't nail down who made them. They were too similar to a few other things that were more common, so I chose to leave them behind. I have a lot of glass in my store right now. Again, these shelves were kind of sparse in the little vase section that they have. They have some pottery in this section as well. I've picked up some really great Warren Mackenzie pieces at this location, so I'm always on the hunt at this location for those. I spot these little fish dishes. I don't know if they're like a sauce or a dip, but they were marked. I was trying to make out the maker's mark on there. I like to glaze on them, and they could be used for an assortment of things, so they had multi-purposes. Even though they were $2.99, I did grab them. And this was a more modern, it kind of gave me Fenton vibes at first, but then when I touched it, the quality wasn't there. And this other piece was definitely handmade. It had a blown base, and then it had another base applied to it. But it was really sloppy. It wasn't really refined. I chose to leave that as well. This lamp bummed me out because I do fairly well with selling lamps. The fishing pole, however, was broken, and they wanted, it was hard to read. I think I'll show you the sticker here. They have it, had it, I don't know, it was $24.99 or $29.99. It was pretty blurry or smeared, so I couldn't figure out what it was, so I ended up leaving that behind. Here we're at another Goodwill location, and this location curates their items as well, and they tend to price items way up. Once in a while I will bite and I will pay those prices because I know I can get the money back on it. This picture intrigued me because it had a label on it as well as being signed on the bottom, and for the price they were asking, it wasn't worth me picking up because the comparable pieces on eBay were going for just a few dollars more than what they were asking. I should have looked more into this fish platter. However, I end up leaving that behind as well. I was just a little thrown off with their prices this time. Generally, you can spot a couple of things, but everything seemed to be priced higher than they normally go. So I end up not getting a whole bunch from this location. And here's one of the examples. This is a really large Jim Shore cat piece, and they wanted $60 for it.
$60.
I was a little blown away by that, but I shouldn't be because this is the same location where they had that fireplace screen, the peacock folding up one, for $100. And here's another example. It's a broken vase, and they wanted $13 for it, and it was clearly damaged. This was a nice inlaid wood like tissue holder, and they wanted $25 for it. And I liked that horseshoe wine holder. this might be like an agate slice or a geode slice, but it was just a faux decorative piece. And then I spotted this Empoli looking jar on the windowsill. Here I'm just glancing to see what they have, if they have any vases or anything. And then make my way over to that jar. It was painted. I don't know if it was intended to be that way or if someone did that, and I chose to leave that as well. And they had a few of these scattered around the store. They only wanted $12.99 for it, so for somebody who's collecting those pieces, they would do well. I unfortunately didn't pick it up because pitchers and glass pitchers sit for a long time. People aren't buying those right now, at least from me. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any that you see selling right now. I really like this cast iron miniature like bench, but the legs and stuff were wobbly on it. I end up leaving that at the store. And they wanted $10.99 for this. I chose not to pick this up either. This was cute, a little Noah's Ark set, but they didn't have the little pieces that are supposed to go in there. At least I thought it looked like it should have those. Carved wood teapot or pot of some sort. A few piggy banks. And I thought this might be like handmade, but this was more of a mass-produced piece. You probably would have found it like Hobby Lobby. And this was like a stoneware house vase. They wanted $12.99 for it, so I did not pick this up. If it had been a little bit cheaper, I probably would have grabbed it. I'm trying to be more selective. I've mentioned that over and over again in my videos. This was pretty neat, but the signature on the bottom threw me off because it said for decorative purposes only, but it had like manufacturer the maker information inside, so I wasn't sure. I got mixed vibes on it, so I left that. I've mentioned in past videos that I'm getting a lot more items at estate sales and online auctions. I'm still out thrifting a couple days a week. This item, I was a little disappointed. They wanted $4.99 for it. Definitely was a John Coiner mug. However, the handle looked like it would give at any point. It wasn't firmly attached anymore, and I did not want to take a chance on picking this up and then selling it and it breaking. Here's some more pottery pieces. I initially was going to grab these for resale. They look like little tumblers, but they're actually like little miniature pots or planters. And they are signed. At least that's what they had been used for before, because there was like a water ring on them. I chose to put them back though. The prices was $1.99 for the majority of them, and that one they wanted $2.99. And then I picked up this picture as well. It's Prairie Fire pottery, I believe. And these are really nicely done pieces. However, I did not catch that the tag said $19.99 on it. I was going a little fast. I ended up putting that back because prices are kind of all over the board, and I don't think I would have made much money on that. This was a really nice lacquered like jewelry box. Online, I looked at common comps, and they were, north of $100 easily. But I couldn't get the lock to work on it. It had the key, which was great, but if you couldn't get the lock to work, I didn't know how much value would have been there. Here I'm just scanning over just to see what they have. This looked to be more vintage, but they had it pretty wedged in there. but it had a more modern made in China sticker. Now there's a vase up here that I wanted to show you. I didn't get a good view of it on the camera. It was uber heavy. It had a crystalline glaze to it, and I was hoping it was like a Bill Campbell or something, but it was a modern piece, which I did not expect. And they wanted a decent price for it, so I ended up leaving that behind. It would have been terrible to ship as well. This was pretty interesting. It was like a fused glass jewelry box. I thought maybe it would be something more unique, but it had damage on the bottom, and it just had a made in Ecuador sticker on it. Now these fooled me. I definitely thought these were Italian, and they were not. They wanted $14.99 a piece, and they were made in China, and they had chips all over them, so I ended up leaving those behind. And that's going to wrap us up. Here's your recap on what we spent and what we expect it to sell for. Thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. If you have any questions, drop them below. Otherwise, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.